Valve's co-founder did recently suggest that Steam games are coming to console in some form. Could this be through a portable handheld device from the company itself? The company has secretly been building a Nintendo Switch-like gaming PC, according to Ars Technica, citing unnamed sources. I always hate that. Unnamed sources. The other one, right? The other one we got, Bloomberg as an unnamed source, and their own sources. Okay. Plan to launch the product at the end of the year, assuming Valve can secure enough manufacturing capacity. Chip shortage worldwide. Chance probably not going to happen this year. I have seen, there's a channel I follow, I can't remember his name now. He does a lot of these kind of small micro PC things that you get, for emulation and stuff. And he's come across a few of these handheld PC jobbies. And they've been pretty good actually recently. Again, there's rumors that Microsoft are doing something. This come back to the ARM chips, that Microsoft are going to be releasing Windows bits, ARMs, and Snapdragon chips, which means that they'll be able to move into this kind of realm. I think the push for this is more come from a reaction from Apple's usage of these M2 processors that they use, and they want to now be a bit more fluid in what they do, because I don't think with the new Macs, which are the M2 ones, which are ultra thin, they're not going to have that Windows compatibility that you get from the older Macs. Interesting. I've got quite a lot of Steam games. I'd like to be able to play them. I'd like to be able to play them more than 12 frames a second, though. That's the first problem.
Well, I seem to remember not too long ago, there was such a thing as a Steam machine.
Oh, yes, I remember the Steam machine. They had their own little owl-like controller. Yes, and it died a horrible, painful, slow, unsupported death.
Well,
and
the problem they had, they allowed multiple companies to make their own versions of the Steam machine.
Yeah.
And so you had 5, 6, 7 different companies all making their own exterior, and the interior was also different specs, all to run simply on the Steam OS and log in and play your game straight off it, a bit like a console. But all of them looked a bit like a desktop, and they cost more than the PS5 does now.
Yeah, so that's where you've got things. Have you heard of a thing called the Intel Nook Canyon and then Intel Hades Canyon?
No.
These are tiny, ultra powerful PCs. They're about that big.
Okay.
I can't remember the game now. ETA Prime, that was his name. ETA Prime. He's the YouTuber that I watch for that one, and he reviews these Nooks and stuff. It's possible. It really is possible. I think that there's going to be a shift in the chip market. I think with the chip shortage that we've got at the moment, I think we're going to see a shift in the chip market. It's a similar thing with the RAM. If you remember, we had back in the 90s, this is how old I am, back in the 90s, there was an incident where I think a hurricane or a typhoon or something destroyed the only factory in the world that made RAM. Yeah. And then from there, everyone went, why don't we make RAM? And I went, that's a good bloody point. And then everyone started making RAM, and the RAM got faster. And then it'd be like this whirlwind RAM and tornado RAM and typhoon RAM. And it's like, that's a bit tasteless, guys.
Hurricane RAM.
It was. Do you remember? Because you'd get the back of like PC Magazine, you flip on the thing and it would say, we're selling super ultra fast super RAM, on it. And I think it's going to happen again with the chip shortage. If India's smart, India should be picking up the slack on the old chip shortage. They should be looking into making their own chips and doing stuff like that. It's exciting times. I think there's big changes in technology coming soon. My gut tells me there's a change, and I need to be ready for it. I know there's a change because they're starting to move bloody programming languages where VBA, which I'm quite fluent in, is going to become redundant. And I'm like, I've got to teach myself a new language. I hate that shit.
I hate learning languages. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, true. But I think, there's a chance that it'll be okay. But here's the funny thing is, if it's more powerful than the Switch, it may become the platform for the next Switch. Do you know what I mean? If they've done their work right, if they release this thing and it's $1,000, or 900 quid, yeah. And they release it and they go, there it is. And we go, oh, great. And it's really good, but massively expensive. And you can dock it in a similar fashion to the Switch. Nintendo will look at that and go, one, you ripped us off. Two, what can we learn from this to go further forward? So yeah, it's exciting times. Sorry, Nigel, I'm passionate about chips, microchips, not oven chips.
Mine usually come with fish.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm keen to hear a little bit more. I don't know if they'll go down. Maybe they realised last time they went the wrong route and they left it open to everybody and their dog to make their own Steam machine. On this occasion, they might go, right, do you know what we did wrong? We did that wrong. We've got to go with one person and make it with one spec so people can make games to run specifically well.
I think having multiple manufacturers is fine, but they have to lock it down to a single spec.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was. And the other thing too with the Steam machines is that you had different OS versions. You had the Steam OS version, which was Linux, and then you had the Windows OS version.
Yeah.
And the Windows OS version was much more expensive. But saying that, Windows have kind of, how can I put it? They're charging less and less for their operating systems. If you're smart, you can go and get a Windows OS operating system for like tenner. Just shop around because they want everyone on it, and they don't want the barrier of entry. Yeah.
It does sound like this one. Well, the article anyway says about it being used using Linux instead of Windows because of the license thing that people would have, Linux being open source. So the thing is, I don't care what it's running on as long as it can run whatever you've got in your library. And if you've got a Linux machine, you can't run everything in your library.
Yeah,
because a lot of them aren't made for Linux. So a lot of them can be, but not all of them.
I know.
That's something that they'd have to figure out.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next one.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.